Hello everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It's that time of year again, when Coronation Street producer Iain MacLeod exposes loads of details about what will happen in Weatherfield over the coming several months. Here is what Iain revealed to us during a recent in-depth interview with Digital Spy and other press about potential stories for the people of the street. In the first few months of the year, the plot will come to a close. Max has grown even further apart from his family by the beginning of 2023. It's safe to say this takes him into very perilous terrain. Max will come to understand his mistakes throughout the course of 2023. After that, a significant portion of our work will focus on his deprogramming and brainwashing. After everything he's been through, he is about to find atonement. But the ramifications, as with all stories, linger for a very long time after that. We mostly wanted a tale about parenting. David faces a parenting problem, and Shona will face one whenever Julia Golding returns from maternity leave. What should you do if your teenager is becoming radicalized and estranged from your family? Is the question at hand. Do you impose strict device bans? Do you go softly? Or does that run the risk of being too soft, leading them to believe there are no major repercussions and lulling them to sleep? The part that interests me the most is how David is affected because he has always used a gentle parenting style. Max has been more of a buddy to him than a son. Max is not his biological son, which has also had an impact. Finally, David must buckle down and take on his hardest parenting task to far. There is upcoming incredibly fantastic work by consummate performer Jack P. Shepherd, who plays David. Lots. Damon poses a threat. He might initially appear more affluent than his brother Harvey. He's less of a blunt instrument, but in the not-too-distant future, we'll find that his more polished, humorous exterior conceals something just as ruthless and lethal as Harvey. Damon disrupts a lot of people's lives and introduces crime into a family that probably benefits from letting the past go. He causes them to go into the same mess all over again. As Damon reconnects with other family members and influences their life as well, there is a ton to play with. As the year progresses, Damon develops a strong interest to a well-known, high-profile female character who ultimately gets her head turned. That has significant repercussions. We're actively developing the storylines for June. With regard to Damon and the love story that will be shown at that time, there is a build-up and a massive explosion in that story. I don't think wearing a flashy shirt every Saturday night has too much of an impact on his reputation as a legendary hard guy. I would hope that we might go back and discuss Will Meller at some point. When characters are incarcerated, it can be difficult to incorporate their impact into the show. But in the past, we've surmounted challenges that were more challenging. I'd want to believe that at some point we can put Harvey in a room with Damon after getting him out on the street. If Harvey were to escape, he and Damon would be savage rivals. Future Harvey versus Damon fights sound intriguing. In my opinion, no. At the long-term story conference, we talked about a couple, but they later disappeared. Still present is Sharon. Although Tracy Bennett is a busy, in-demand performer, she is undoubtedly still out there. Damon, Harvey's half-brother, is not linked to Sharon biologically, but she departed with plans to take over the family company and the criminal underground. Although it has been discussed, there is currently no plan in place for her potential return. Not completely. Even after the wedding and for some time following, Hope's last name is still Stape. She does begin to obsess over her father. Jade, her half-sister, gave her some tainted information on John, but she still doesn't know anything much about him. Hope's unhealthy curiosity regarding John leads to some really interesting darkly humorous material. She develops a little obsession that causes issues for Tyrone and Fizz. Future parenting of Hope will present some challenges for them. Without giving too much away, Hope's erratic behavior leads to an unpleasant argument with an adult neighbor over a chinchilla. Over the course of the year, Hope's behavior will become more challenging, but there are also a lot of hilarious moments. In a sweet passage, Fizz and Tyrone decide to rekindle their romance because they feel like they are drifting back into the staleness that caused Ty to wander. Thanks to Sally's counsel, everything goes horribly wrong. Evelyn, who is consistently entertaining, is in the middle of her and Tim's dressing up box, which is pretty funny. Everyone ought to be alarmed. Is it going to be me? The entire cast is concerned. When I bring an actor in for a conversation, they always respond, "That's it. I'm going to get killed by Todd Boyce." We know that when Leo called Steven an old man, Steven fired him partly out of necessity and partially out of macho pride. No body ever stays buried for very long in a soap opera, so Steven faces some very significant danger in the form of Leo's father. Teddy suspects Steven of being involved in Leo's abduction and has a bad feeling about him. The question is, how far will Steven go to eliminate this new threat now that we are aware of what he did the last time he found himself in a tight spot? Todd performs with such intelligence. In the desperate scenes after Steven killed Leo, we felt a profound sense of empathy. He was almost sorry, so broken, red-eyed and exhausted. The story is a bit like a film noir, due to his fatal flaw of arrogance and egotism. A man's need to be top dog drives him into increasingly desperate acts over the next 12 months. There's lots to come, in the best tradition of Corey villains. If you compare him to our esteemed bad guys of the past, he's got shades of Richard Hillman for me. It's that kind of pompous refusal to accept you're on the bones of your behind. He has the desire to present the image of the successful guy. Everything about what he's doing and about this story I find really exciting. Yes, he sees his first step back on the ladder to the top of the international rag trade as getting a gig in Underworld and toppling current queen of the pile, Carla. Psychological warfare begins between those two, complete with knowledge on viewers' part that Steven has killed someone. So when Carla belittles Steven and makes him make the tea, undercutting him in front of clients, she is unwittingly poking this hornet's nest. At some point all the hornets do come out, but probably not in the way you expect. If anyone predicts what Steven does to Carla, I'll eat my hat. His plan is so out there and dark that I'd be incredibly surprised if anyone spots it coming over the hill. Principally, their story will center on Carla's war with Steven. Peter's role in that is being deeply concerned about his wife's history of mental health problems. Peter will put Carla offside by trying to be overprotective and fight her battles, intervening in an unhelpful way to suggest her priorities are all wrong. We want to play them as a couple that bicker and fall out, like over Peter's conspiracy-mindedness. We're dramatizing tensions that exist in a normal couple that have different political views. They are bubbling along nicely, but in readiness for when Carla is thrust into Steven's crosshairs and the danger that comes with that. Their next story is about a young woman on the internet and dangers that face influencers who have a high profile. In Daisy's case, she has quite a small fry online following, but that brings her into a certain degree of danger as the wedding approaches. Most of the story build-up is lighthearted. There's a culture clash with Daniel, who wants a Dickens-themed wedding. Minnie Ken Barlow wants a serious and cultured wedding, but Daisy wants everything to be a bit extra. There's much fun to be had there. In the background, a creeping danger arises from Daisy's online life. By the time that surfaces, it takes a while for them to realize danger is brewing. It's an interesting, current, socially important story with far-reaching psychological impact, running across the whole of 2023, and it threatens their relationship. It leads to Daisy's faith in Daniel being shaken as she maybe has her head turned. She's chaotic, selfish, and hates Jenny. There's lots of comedy. Christina knows karate, which is a problem for Jenny who doesn't. The moment I clapped eyes on Amy's audition tape, it was just her. I've never known it quite so resounding as that. As soon as you see her, Christina's arrival provides lightness in the run-up to the wedding. She also illuminates Daisy's backstory. Daisy comes across as being quite collected and at ease with herself. We learn that she has a slightly more tragic past. Nothing particularly awful or traumatic occurs, but Daisy's past is well developed, and as a result, we come to feel very sorry for her, which counteracts the craziness of the wedding preparations. We still have a terrific cast of young actors. They are at the center of a compelling narrative that is both highly relatable and distinctly teenage. We're hoping it will be the kind of tale that makes people a little uncomfortable and starts awkward TV watching conversations. Because of Corey's attraction to people of all ages, young people may watch it with their grandmother. Due of its difficult tonal terrain, I believe this narrative will inspire intergenerational dialogues that you wouldn't typically have. It makes me happy. For the most part, it just comes down to those brilliant young actors being the superstars they are and then reaching out to the wider community through people who are connected to them. We're working with charities to make sure we get the details right. The plot of Seb and Nina's tale was an alleged assault on a teen, which attracted Roy, Abby, and a large cross-generational cast of individuals. The ones that don't fit neatly into one particular demographic are our finest stories. This most recent tale falls under that category. There is a lot going on for individuals who are directly participating, and then there are effects that reverberate throughout the entire show for parents, loved ones, families, and extended friendship networks. For two of them, love is in the air, but I'll let you decide which couple it might be. In the past, there have been strong feelings on both sides, either Team Todd and Billy or Team Paul and Billy. We've been back and forth for years and have decided on a team, but the story will center on the three of them regardless of whether the pair ends up on that squad. We reasoned that since My Two Dads was a successful sitcom, My Three Dads must be even better. The relationship between the same-sex trio who are raising a disturbed 19-year-old girl is wonderful. It feels utterly original, and I can't think of anything similar on another soap opera or television drama. Todd displays both a lot of compassion and a lot of deviance at various points. We slam a tremendous story upon one of them, turning them into secret best friends after they were formerly adversaries. All of them are having a tremendously eventful year, and one of our major tales will revolve around them. Some of them are going to suffer the consequences. We came to the conclusion that Summer, despite being a highly smart young woman, had made a number of terrible judgments throughout the year. Over the course of this year, she will continue to make a few more. Summer permits herself to ignore some of the warning signs in Esther and Mike's relationship and in their tale as a whole because she feels bad about some of the lies she told to Esther and Mike and now wants to make apologies. Summer is determined to do right by them and make up for the falsehoods, even if it means putting herself in some sort of fatal risk. It's thrilling, but in the end, it's all about the family. Her three dads are what save her from oblivion, return her to normalcy, and help her remember who she was before she got lost. The scenes are realistic and grounded. You find yourself in a heightened denouement, yet everything makes perfect sense, and you can't help but feel bad for this lost young woman. There will be more joy than sorrow. She becomes an important confidant to one of the kids in the main socially responsible issue story after being involved in one of the other stories I've discussed. When Abby becomes a surrogate mother, she faces difficult decisions over who to believe and who to support. She then looks into her own history of substance abuse throughout the years as a result. In addition, there are a few other items on the table that we are experimenting with, both of them have a pleasant flavor. One I really want to do, but will have to wait as it's somewhat similar to another narrative we're currently doing. However, it entails Abby getting in touch with someone from her past who turns out to be the absolute last person you'd expect to discover in her background. That will spark a hilarious cultural clash explosion. It's an odd relationship story since she runs into someone from her past with whom she shares a connection through history. Sally Carmen shares our desire to see Abby happy because she must have felt exhausted by the conclusion of all those major stories. We want her and Kevin to be content, but never too content that it becomes monotonous. They'll be pleased, yet we'll insult them. It's a typical Corey episode concerning Roy's addiction to his phone. When I first arrived at Corey, I overheard rumors that Roy would never possess a mobile phone since that was David Nielsen's one red line. I was hiding as we were storyboarding it in case he was going to lose it. In the end, he didn't, and he truly enjoys the humor involved. By the end of the story, normal operations had obviously somewhat resumed. Roy won't be sharing any TikTok videos or similar content. The adventure surrounding the generation gap between him and Nina is enjoyable. That involves Evelyn as well. They both share a similar age, are eccentric individuals, and have a deep level of affection for one another, but neither would admit it because they believe it to be very un-British and unseemly. I'm falling more and more in love with their dynamic. I'm eager to see how this prim and proper friendship develops throughout the course of the phone tale. It's one of my favorite things in the new year because both of them are obviously such amazing performers. For them, there is family drama. We didn't want to harm them as a couple the way that Fizz and Ty had been treated over the previous few years. Romantically, Sally and Tim are content, and the most of their issues will be addressed in a future Faye and Craig narrative. Unexpected correspondence suddenly appears in one of their inboxes, and everyone starts sneaking about and lying to each other with a certain amount of motivated dishonesty. Instead of marital conflict and fighting, it is a large-scale family story. I won't disclose two more, but Spider is unquestionably involved in the Max plot and will contribute to its eventual unraveling. Toya will undoubtedly continue to struggle due to the degree of danger his job forces him to expose himself to. He's obviously involved in the Max tale, I guess, is the most I can say without giving too much away. In a heroic act that puts his life in some danger, Spider proves to be the honorable man we know and love. Toya's opinion of Spider has fluctuated a lot, yet he is a good man who consistently demonstrates his heroism. I'm not really saying that, but I sound like he's going to pass away. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe our channel Street Gossip for more update news.